Welcome. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here for this explainer. If you're a focused learner who loves having your assumptions totally challenged, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're embarking on a truly immersive, interactive mental challenge. We're going to walk through 3 highly specific thought experiments that are designed to stretch the very limits of your reality, so get ready.
Right out of the gate, I have to ask you, can a simple thinking game make you a celestial? I mean, it sounds like pure fantasy, right? It goes against all of our conventional, structured logic. But I want you to hold on to that skepticism as we go through this explainer, because by the end, you might just view the boundaries of your own mind completely differently.
Okay, let's dive right into the core of this, the Celestial Cultivation Games. Just to give us our bearings before we plunge in, let's look at where this material comes from. These games were presented by Diaform Buddha back on October 23rd, 2006. They were actually offered up as an invitation to the public, basically an open challenge to engage in what's called celestial cultivation, all through the power of pure thought.
Let's jump into the very first trial, Game 1, the dead twig.
So let's methodically walk through the physical steps outlined for this challenge. Step 1, you need to find a flower pot and fill it with the absolute best soil you can possibly find. Step 2, locate a dried twig or flower stem. And notice the precise physical constraint here. It's got to be about 1/3 the length of a chopstick. Okay, step 3, insert this dead twig into your pot and water it. And finally, step 4, try literally every possible method to make that dried twig grow roots and sprout. Now pay really close attention to the absolute physical constraint we're dealing with here. The text is incredibly specific. The twig must have bark, and it has to be definitively dead, completely 100% incapable of sprouting or growing roots. You're unallowed to cheat by finding a dormant cutting. It has to be a piece of completely lifeless wood. There is just this stark, massive contrast between the final, unyielding reality of a dead stick and a robustly sprouting, living plant. Our biological logic just screams at us that you cannot cross from one state to the other. It feels like a completely closed door, right? But then we get this fascinating quote from the source material. Listen to this. The mystery of life lies within this task. Once the dried twig or flower stem has rooted, sprouted, and grown robustly, you will have become a celestial. So the ultimate prize isn't just a blooming plant. It's presented as a fundamental transformation of your own state of being. The challenge here is to bridge that impossible gap between death and life using absolutely nothing but thought. All right, moving on to the next scenario. Game 2, Total Darkness. I want you to really vividly visualize these catastrophic conditions for a second. Suddenly, the sun and the moon completely lose their light. Instantly, all power sources are cut off. And we're not just talking about the power grid going down. Candles won't light, flashlights fail, car batteries are dead. You were plunged into absolute, suffocating darkness. Now, add the physical destruction. Houses have collapsed from an earthquake. Your phone and communication devices, totally useless. There is no water, and food is incredibly hard to find. You have zero contact with your family or friends. All around you, in the pitch black, people are crying out in sheer despair. And to top the whole thing off, the weather is exceptionally cold. So, what would you do? I want you to actually pause and sit in the uncomfortable darkness of this scenario for just a second. Every single physical, technological, and social crutch that you rely on has been stripped away simultaneously. There is absolutely no external hope. What is your very first internal move? Let's shift to the final trial, Game 3, the Hungry Wolves. The scene shifts completely. You are no longer in a ruined, freezing city. Suddenly, you find yourself standing completely alone in a vast, endless grassland. There is nowhere to hide, there are no trees to climb, no shelter to barricade yourself inside of. You are entirely exposed. And the sheer scale of the threat here is just overwhelming. It's not a single wolf. It's not even a really large pack. It is thousands. It is a massive, inescapable ocean of predators surrounding you in every single direction. And of course, they aren't just passing by. They are hungry. They are eyeing you menacingly, and they are actively closing in. The source text drops you right into the center of this immediate sensory panic. The physical danger is imminent, and it's completely undeniable. Now, when faced with a nightmare like this, the human mind instinctively jumps straight to hope, doesn't it? We hope someone will come to rescue us. We listen for the sound of a helicopter. We look for a hero to appear on the horizon. But the source text firmly establishes this crushing rule. Don't think anyone will come to rescue you. It is absolutely impossible. Which brings us to the ultimate survival question, the one that completely corners all of our conventional logic. With thousands of wolves closing in, no weapons, zero shelter, and absolutely no chance of rescue, how would you escape the wolves? I mean, if you stay within the bounds of standard physical reality, you can't. The math simply does not work in your favor. Okay, let's figure out how to break out of this. Unlocking Lifechanyuan unconventional thinking. So how on earth do we solve all three of these impossible scenarios? Well, the source material gives us this incredible climactic realization. Read this with me. There is nothing impossible in the universe, only things that thinking has not yet achieved. This is huge. The crucial point here is that the actual barrier isn't the dead wood, it isn't the cold darkness, and it isn't the thousands of wolves. The only actual barrier is the limit of your current thought process. This brilliantly illustrates the core definition of unconventional thinking within the Lifechanyuan philosophy. The things we quickly label as impossible, like bringing a dead twig back to life or escaping thousands of wolves totally unharmed, are viewed merely as reflections of how we currently think. According to the text, they are not absolute, unbreakable boundaries of the universe. The argument here is that if you can change the dimension of your thinking, well, the physically impossible suddenly becomes possible. And this is exactly why these scenarios were designed in the first place. We play these seemingly impossible thinking games as literal workouts for the mind. Just like you'd lift heavy weights at the gym to build physical muscle, you place your mind in these inescapable, atmospheric scenarios to force it to stretch way beyond its normal constraints. By actively wrestling with the dead twig, the dark cold, and those hungry wolves, you are training your consciousness to access higher levels of reality where those physical threats simply no longer apply. Which brings us to our final takeaway for today. You don't need a dead stick or a pack of wild wolves to practice this. Every single day, you face situations, projects, or personal hurdles that your logic tells you are totally impossible. But if nothing is impossible in the universe, and we are only limited by what our thinking has yet to achieve, how will you apply this boundless thinking to the impossible challenges in your own life? Keep stretching those mental constraints, and I will see you in the next explainer.